So how does the reality of mixed migration then complicate existing migration regimes?
Well, for instance, one of the main distinctions between refugees or asylum seekers and, let's say, normal migrants is that the former category is a legal category enshrined within international legal systems, and it allows a person to seek asylum into another country.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say Italy. So if a refugee has a valid claim for protection because of a fear of persecution or coming from a war zone or whatever, this person should not be denied entry into a country of asylum, right?
Yeah.
That is international law, and most countries in the world have signed and ratified international refugee law, so they are bounded by this regulation. However, normal migrants, people that economic migrants or people that are not, let's say, asylum seekers or refugees, cannot have that claim. There is no legal regulation that determines that these people should have access to another country in order to claim safety, whatever. So if these streams are clearly separated, you say these are asylum seekers, these are refugees fleeing war, we'll invite them into Italy, and then we'll check on their motivations. Are they valid asylum seekers, yes or no? And if not, we send them away, and if yes, we allow them on our territory. That's very clear. But if it's not very, very clear if these people are asylum seekers or regular migrants or economic migrants or whoever, then this becomes a little bit more complicated. So what we see now, for instance, in the Mediterranean, are these big boats with people that flee or come or move from sub-Saharan Africa, and that are now sent away before they reach the shores of Europe, on the argument that they are irregular migrants, or they are not refugees, or they are not valid claimants of refugee protection, which is in fact, not only a violation of international refugee law, but also the direct consequence of this mixing of categories. If we would know that people on those boats would be asylum seekers in that clear legal category, we would not be able to send them away like that. So the mixing of migration in several ways becomes clear in this example. And one is that migrants that come from, let's say, Nigeria or Morocco or Tunisia know that they can benefit from the legal label that the forced migrant seeks to claim. Mm-hmm. So they follow their patterns and their paths. And human smugglers know this too. That's one. So that's one reason why these sort of groups merge. But something a little bit more interesting is that we could also question to what extent the differences between those labels are indeed too rigid, right? So and this has several complications. One is, can we, for instance, single out long-term poverty or other forms of threat to livelihoods or lack of education as something that does not deserve additional protection, and argue that forms of low-intensity conflict, for instance in the Horn of Africa, does allow seeking protection in another country. Hmm. So what the example also shows is that this phenomenon of mixed migration calls into question the existing categories that we know or that we organize international migration with, and maybe we should reflect on the rigidity of the labels that we have created.
Right.